Okay, so for this week, our topic actually revolves around the concept of trigonometric functions. And you know them. Those are the sine, cosine, tangent, and then the reciprocal functions, cosecant, secant, and the cotangent. Okay, these are the 6 trigonometric functions. And for this week, we will be learning more about trigonometric identities. Relationships of the different trigonometric functions with one another. Okay, so therefore, when we say trigonometric identities, we will just be dealing with the relationships of the sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent with one another. Okay, so we will be playing around trigonometric functions for this week. And don't worry, this is just very easy. Okay, now later on, you will see this hexagonal functions here. This will help us. If the circular function has the left hand trick for us to memorize the not memorize, but for us to identify the values of the circular functions, the trigonometric identities naman has this hexagonal pattern. And this will teach us how will we be able to arrive at the different values about trigonometric identities. And we will learn them one by one later. Okay, let's now move on. So just to start with, we have these 2 types of equations. Okay, this is just an introduction. There are 2 types of equations, the conditional and the identity equation. Identity. Ayan. So we have 2 types. And what do we mean by them? By these equations. When we say conditional equation, it is an equation that is satisfied by at least one real number. In short, at least one. Meron siyang at least na isa, which means it could also be possible that there will be lots of possible answers. But for the identity equation, when we say identity, we mean it is an equation that is true for all real numbers and whose both sides are defined and identical. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, so let's have a closer look about these 2 types of equation. So let's focus with this one. When we say identity, this is an identity equation. Let's have this. So we have, for example, when you say identity equation, this is sample 3x plus 2x is equal to 10. Can you solve for the value of x? Yes or no? Type your answer in the chat box. Can you solve for the value of x? Opo, very good. Sige nga, what's the value of x given this equation? What is the value of x given this equation? Okay, very good. And your classmates are posting their answers correctly. That's good. So you know the process. We just have to combine like terms. That becomes 5x is equal to 10. And then to solve for the value of x, we need to divide both sides by 5. You know the process. And x is equal to 2. That's very basic. Okay, pang grade 6 lang yan. This is identity when there is an exact value for your equation. Okay, that is an identity equation. Now, when we say conditional statement, this is an example of a conditional statement. For example, we have x plus 4 squared is equal to x squared plus 8x plus 16. Sige nga. Can you solve for the value of x? Try to solve for the value of x. Go. Type your answer in the chat box when you're done. Try to solve for the value of x in this equation. Or baka napahirap ng konti yung given. Let's make another a simpler equation. We have 2 times x plus 3 is equal to 2x plus 6. O yan, ito na lang. This is simpler than the first one. Solve the second one. Go. Type your answer in the chat box if you got the value for x. I'm waiting for your answers. Sige. Riza showed an answer but it's not a value for x. Linnea gave me an explanation. LJ showed a different answer. What about the rest? Try to solve for the value of x. Oy, one of our classmate got a -3 answer. Hindi po ako sure. 0. Ay, wait po. Sige. Try to look at it. How can you solve for the value of x? The question, can you solve for the value of x or not? X equals 0. Okay. Sige. 0. Okay, eto na. So, let's do this. Let's see if we can solve for the value of x in this equation. Okay, you know the process. So, syempre, before we can solve that, we need to distribute 2x first to all the terms in the equation. So, this will become 2x plus 6 is equal to 2x plus 6. Now, they are exactly the same. In short, if both sides of the equations are exactly the same, you cannot solve for the value of x. Why? Try to solve this. Of course, combine like terms. Combine like terms. This will become 2x minus 2x is equal to 6 minus 6. And this will end up with 0 is equal to 0 rather than x is equal to a value. Right? Now, if that's the case, that is called conditional equation. Why? Because there is no exact value for x, which means it may contain different values for x. What does that mean? So, ibig sabihin lang nito, it's a conditional statement and this equation depends, the value depends on the value of x that we will be assigning. For example, if we have let x be equal to 2, then by substituting 2 in our equation, this will become 2 times 2 plus 6 is equal to 2 times 2 plus 6. So this will become 4 plus 6. 4 plus 6 is equal to 10 is equal to 10. So conditional statement is just the same process as checking. Yung parang you remember when you were in grade 7 and grade 8, when you are checking the value of x if they are correct. Yun, parang ganun lang yung context ng conditional statement. Which means any value of x can be the value for that equation. Unlike in the identity, it's very sure there's only one correct answer. Okay? Do you now understand the difference of conditional and identity equations? Show a reaction if you understood that process. Very good. Okay, I will be giving you set of hindi po ba yung sa left yung identity, same po yung both sides. Yes, actually when we say identity equation, Eto yon, kasi meron siyang sariling identity. Meron siyang sariling identity, which means you can solve for the value of x. Okay? Can you follow that? Ay, sorry. Ay, okay. Sorry. Baliktad pala. Yes, it was baliktad. Thank you for that. This is, baliktarin natin. Correct, thank you. Ito ang conditional kasi isa lang ang value. And this is identity kasi parehong-pareho sila. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that correction. Okay. Again, sorry. That's a correction. Thank you for that. Identity. This is identity because both sides of the equations are exactly the same. That's identity. And conditional, it can only be satisfied by one or other values. Okay, and that's, ang condition dito is x lang pala ang, yeah, that's correct, thank you. X lamang ang tamang sagot for this, and that's conditional. Identity if it can provide more possible answers. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that correction. Was that clarification clarified, clear to the rest? Kapag may exact value, that's conditional. Pag parehong-pareho, exactly the same, that's identity. Thank you for that. Is that clarification understood? Let me see. Okay, very good. Let's have more. Okay, welcome. Let's have this. I'll give you 5 different equations and tell me if it is identity or conditional. Again, conditional pag may exact value si x. Just to clarify, thank you for that correction. Conditional, exact value for x. Okay. And for the identity, from the word itself, thank you for that. Identity, identical. Parehong-pareho. So therefore, no exact value yet. Okay? Ibig sabihin, same both sides of the equations. Okay. Got it? Kindly show a reaction if you understand that correction, difference of the two, conditional and identical. Thank you. Okay. Now let's move on. Just tell me if it is conditional or identity. Ready? Just type C or I for these numbers. Let's have this. Number 1. Okay. Go. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tell me if this equation is conditional or identity. Type your 5 answers. One time ang pagsasend lang ha. One time sending only. Type your answers in the chat box. The 5 answers once you're done. Go. Okay. Jazel and LJ sent me the same answers. Same thing with Gabien. Same as the first two who sent their answers. Basta't may value ka ng x na masosolve, that's conditional. If the other equation or the other side of the equation is just a representation or another statement, same statement for the other side of the equation, that's identity. Pareho lang sila, kumbaga. They are just the same. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, your classmates are now sending their answers. Okay, so many of your classmates have the same answers. Some have contradicting answers naman. Okay, let's verify them later. Okay. Take note of the correction, ha? We clarified this difference, the difference between the two. If there's an exact value, that's conditional. Identical if by simplifying both sides of the equation, they will be the same. Okay, let's now see. Thank you for your answers. Game, let's have this. So, when you solve this, divide both sides by 3. You will have x squared is equal to 4, and therefore you can solve the value of x. So x here is positive and negative 4 because it's a square root. Identity or conditional? Identity or conditional? This is, sorry, it's not 4, it's 2. Thank you. Yan, thank you for that. That's square root pala ng 4. Ngayon ko lang nalaman. Positive and negative 2. Very good. Thank you for that. It's 2. Conditional or identity? This is conditional, of course, because the condition is there are only 2 answers, possible values for x, and those are positive 2 and negative 2. So conditional siya. Not true for all values, kumbaga. Now let's have this. For number 2, so when we simplify this, distribute, you will have 3x. This will also be a x squared plus 3x. And they are exactly the same. They are identical. Therefore, that is identity. Okay? Got it. That's correct. Oh, one check for 1, one check for 2. Now let's do this. This is binomial times binomial. Therefore, we will do the FOIL method here. So we will have x times x, x squared first, FOIL, outer 2x, inner plus x, and last plus 2, combining both terms that are identical, correct, or they are that are the same. We have x squared plus 3x plus 2, and they are exactly the same. So therefore, that is identical. Okay? Next, I think I would like to focus more with number 5 first kasi number 5 is so obvious. Dividing both sides by 5. So x is equal to 5. So there is an exact value, so that's conditional. Okay, the condition is x should only be equal to 5. Kaya siya conditional. And finally, this one. Will they be identical or identity or conditional? Many of your classmates had varied answers for number 4. Let's see. So we have here, let's do the FOIL method. We already had the FOIL method here. We have x squared plus 3x plus 2 is equal to x squared plus 6. Okay, now let's combine like terms. Transpose, it will become minus. So therefore, that will be canceled out. So we will be left out with 3x plus 2 is equal to 6. Transpose, this will become minus 2. Minus 2. So 3x is equal to 4. Divide both sides by 3. X is equal to 4 over 3. No matter what kind of number it is, as long as there is a value for x or for the variable that is conditional. Okay? Got it. So, ay, pinagbiligtad po lahat sa akin. Okay, now learn from that process. This was already clarified a while ago. If there's an exact value for x that is, type your answer in the chat box, please. If there's an exact value for